Predictions are fun, and honestly it doesn't even matter whether you are right or wrong. What matters is that you are willing to have that fun at the expense of possibly being incorrect, but I am definitely not afraid of that. So let me present to you my predicted 2024 year-end top 20. In 20th I have someone who was objectively bad last season, but I still believe that he has the capabilities to at least get back into the top 20 in 2024, and his name is Felix Auger-Aliassime. I know, he hasn't shown much upside in recent memory apart from the title in Basel, but this lackluster 2023 season means that he can play the game in 2024 without having the pressure of defending many ranking points. Bar from getting some serious injury, I expect him to be much better this season, and I'm sure that we will get at least a resemblance of the old Felix this season. In 19th I have the American darling Ben Shelton, and him falling a bit down the rankings doesn't mean that I don't rate him, cause I do, but at the same time I don't expect to see him replicate last year's Grand Slam success this year, which is where most of his ranking points come from. In 18th again I have an American who actually had a pretty similar Grand Slam success last year as Shelton, and it's Tommy Paul. Nothing much to say here apart from that I think players below him right now in the rankings are better than he is overall. That's it. Karan Khachanov is in 17th cause I'm ready to right my wrongs from the last season's predictions where I completely forgot about him, which is something that I absolutely shouldn't have done. Karan is just a super solid player, there are not many flaws in his game, and he's someone who you maybe don't pay that much attention to during the big tournaments, but when the last 16 stage comes you almost always see him there. So it would be only logical to give him some sort of acknowledgement in this prediction. Some people might not like me for this, but Grigor Dimitrov will end the 2024 season in 16th. I'm sorry, but I just don't see Grigor continuing doing what he did at the end of the last season in 2024. I know that he's liked by many, but I have to be honest with these predictions, and I just don't have the faith in him that he will be able to continue his rise back to the top 10 in 2024. With this pick in 15, I think we will finally see the jump from Sebastian Korda that everyone expects. I mean, how much longer can we talk about him playing effortless, elegant tennis if he won't get the big results that people projected for him to have? Don't get me wrong, I still believe that he can finally get into the top 20 this season, but if he doesn't, then I think it might be time for some uncomfortable discussions. In 14th it's Cam Norrie, and listen, he's absolutely, undoubtedly, indubitably one of the top 20 players in the world. Next one up is my favorite player on tour, Frances Tiafoe. Obviously I would love to show a bit more bias here by putting him in at least the top 10, but I'm taking a cautious approach here because if he does better than I expected, then I will be absolutely delighted. As far as his game goes, you might not like him having fun on the court, you might not like his shot selection from time to time, but clearly it works to some extent. He has beaten great players, he has that self-belief that some players might lack. I think it will be enough to be at least in the 13th at the end of the 2024. I feel like I will be wrong with this one, but in 12th I'll put Taylor Fritz. Genuinely speaking, I have no idea why I'm placing him here, but Taylor seems like that kind of player who will somehow stay in a relatively high ranking without doing much of note. Although he did celebrate his biggest win this week against Novak Djokovic, I doubt that Alex de Minaur will squeeze into the top 10, but he'll be 11th though, which is not bad. I just don't see him being consistently great against the top players, and if you can't do that, then it's hard to get into the top 10. Now that we have done the bottom 10, it's time for some honorable mentions. First being Artur Fils. I mean, he's still so young, so I expect to see improvements from him this year, and if that happens, he will absolutely be at the brink of making the top 20. Second honorable mention is Roman Safiullin. He has shown that he can play some incredible tennis, but the biggest issue with him is whether or not he will be able to be great on a consistent basis. And third one is a long shot, but I do believe that we will see a Matteo Berrettini resurgence this year. I won't give any explanations as to why that will happen, but I just feel that it is coming. The disappointment of this season will be Lorenzo Musetti, cause honestly I don't think that we will ever see Lorenzo fulfill the expectations that were set for him after his great junior career. And the biggest jump in the rankings, not counting those returning from injury, will come from João Fonseca if he even plays the full season, and if he doesn't, then I expect to see Jerry Shank to rise to at least the top 100 this season. Also, don't forget to put your own predictions in the comment section down below, but now let's get back into the top 10, and in 10 10th it will be Hubert Hurkacz. I mean, he just has a ridiculous serve and sometimes it's just all that you really need. In 9th I predict a significant fall for Stefanos Tsitsipas. I mean, how many years in a row can we discuss his backhand as his obvious weakness and still not see any improvements in that department? I think this season will serve to him as a wake-up call since he won't make the year-end finals that he usually makes, and maybe after that we will see a new and improved Stefanos. Now it's time for an honesty hour, because in 8th I have Casper Ruud, and I'm being so serious when I say this. I'm one big Ruud win away from putting him in my top 3 of my favorite players on the tour. I'm not joking, and if he ever wins a tournament bigger than a 250, then you have to catch me on that bandwagon. Seeing him play with aggression, with confidence, with self-belief brings a tear to my eye, cause that is all that I ever asked of him. Admittedly, there is still some work to do in the interview department, but it will come with time. Andrey Rublev will fall to 7th this year. I'm sorry, but he's just not that guy. I mean, he's obviously good, but I don't see him ever getting out of that 5 to 10 spot in the rankings, and this year will be no exception. Next one up is Sasha Zverev, and less said about him the better. And 5th I have a suspicion that Daniil Medvedev won't be in the top 3 anymore. I don't know, maybe here I'm presenting something that I want to happen as something that will happen, but I just want to see a bit of a shake-up in the top 3. And in this instance, Daniil is the odd one out. It's as simple as that. In 4th, I'll finally show a bit of my bias because I picked Holger Rune to be here. Even though the second part of the last season was not good from Rune, at least we can see that he's trying to make some changes, especially in his coaching staff and people surrounding his tennis career in general. So I'm banking on those changes actually bringing a positive result for the Dane. And now get your pitchforks ready, cause in 3rd it's Novak Djokovic, and the reasoning is he's just getting older. I think that he'll start going through his LeBron James arcs, and I expect him to still do amazing things that nobody at his age should be doing, but at the same time I think that injuries might start taking a toll a bit more. Possibly he won't even play that many tournaments to gain the ranking points that are necessary for the number 1 spot, and in general this might be the time when we will finally see a very minimal but a decline nonetheless from Novak Djokovic. So who will end 2024 as the world number 1? Will it be Jannik Sinner, who has made significant improvements in his game in the last few months, or will it be the guy who has already won the big titles, the guy who has already been the year-end number 1? Carlos Alcaraz. So the player who will end the 2024 season as the year-end number 1 is Carlos Alcaraz. I just think that people in tennis are starting to underestimate how good Carlos is, and this season will serve as a rude awakening for some of those people. At the end of the day, those are my predictions, and if you don't agree with them, I suggest you take it easy, my friend.